Pierce the Veil, returning to the scene of the crime. Kind of. Hey, it's Q101 live at Lollapalooza. Lou, I am here with Vic, Jaime, and Tony. Pierce the Veil. Guys, last time you were with us, back in May of 2023, maybe you remember this show. It was the Cubby Bear. It was a pop-up show. We do these free pop-up shows where people can line up early and get in to see awesome
How
bands
could we
in a small
forget?
venue.
The old
Yeah. I mean, like, less people showed up the night the Cubs won the World Series. And you guys were blocks long for the line. Vic, you were hanging out of the window? Like, what? It was a wild night at the Cubby Bear.
We were throwing picks out the window.
Yeah, it was definitely a night to remember for sure.
It's
Playing
a little different than this.
It's a little different
Slightly,
than this.
yeah,
Slightly different. But yeah,
Cubby
both
Bear
equally
was-
exciting though.
That was super fun.
Yeah.
We have the craziest photos from that show.
Yeah.
Just
It's like
you
yeah.
jumping into the crowd
Oh,
and
it's
stuff.
just-
It was awesome.
I went ham. Yeah.
Well, I was actually going to bring up the photos, too, because, I mean, the new album, The Jaws of Life, you guys working on it with Paul Meany, Mute Math, the third member of 21 Pilots, whatever you want to call him, right? But, I mean, I was reading that you guys, when you were working on that album, were hanging up photos of fans, of shows, just to kind of get that feeling, because it was during the pandemic, it was right, kind of the end of it, and you guys hadn't done anything in a while. No one has. And it was kind of just to get back to that vibe. I mean,
Totally, yeah.
Was that the first time you guys had done something like that? And did it kind of like remind you of you don't know what you got till it's gone kind of a thing when you're being away from your fans for that long of like, oh man, this actually does matter when what we're doing.
Yeah, it had been a minute since we had toured, and we had lots of really cool crowd photos like from all of our previous record cycle. So we put those up all over the walls of the place we were staying at to record, and it just kind of
I remember we
helped us remember what we were doing it for.
Getting in the van and being like going to Kinko's to print all these photos out, like poster-sized photos, just to like what he was saying, just be inspired. When you're making the record inside this house, we're there for over a month.
Down in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so it's just nice to like see the big picture stuff and be like, yo, remember that we love to play shows, and like this is the big like days like today is the reason why we do the
and when we're
things that
working
we
on the
do.
music to remind us where we're going to be playing these songs eventually is going to be to our crowd, to our fans, to these people. So keep that in mind when you're making these songs. That's where we're going to be here, playing on a stage,
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Make sure it's ready for that as well, right? Not
Yeah,
just-
it was helpful just to, keep us excited and inspired.
Absolutely. So, anything else working with Paul Meany on the album versus the other albums you guys have done that was just that really stood out as being different to you guys in the process of it?
Man.
I mean, well, Paul Meany is an artist himself.
I'm sure it's hard to pick like one thing, right?
Sure, yeah. So he comes from a different he's very creative, and he pushed us in ways that I don't think we've ever like been pushed before, and
that's great though.
yeah,
like, that's a good thing.
Exactly, yeah, and to have someone as passionate as he is about the music as well, it felt like he was another member of our like little group here, and it was good. We'd get into like very positive scuffles,
Sure.
And it was a really good
But
experience.
like the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
Go back and listen to the Jaws of Life, and like,
Yeah.
wow, there it is. I mean, it's a fantastic album. I'm also a gigantic fan of the cover you guys released of Karma Police. Vic, your voice on that, man, it's like this, like you wrote the song. It just fits it so perfectly, and it's impressive how loud and how smooth you can be. But what was the reason for picking that particular song? I mean, I think it came out fantastic, and I mean that's probably part of it. But was like the voice range of it part of it, or was it just a song you guys loved?
Well, I just like that you called me Smooth.
Smooth operator.
Made me feel
He's
good.
going to keep talking about
I'm
that.
down
I'm
for
gonna
this.
take. I'm gonna
The
take
next
that with me
day, the
today
next
throughout
day.
the day.
Hey, remember that guy who called me smooth?
That's kind of all I heard was, "You sound smooth. You're smooth."
Yeah, it's gonna be in the green room. Call me Smooth, Vic Fuentes.
Yeah, no, that I appreciate it. No, it was we love that song. It's one of my favorite songs of all time.
Sure.
And I we had an opportunity to cover it, and we just like, I just love the song so much. So we wanted it to be as I don't know, just passionate as possible, and really put everything we had into it as if it was one of our songs. And it was
a lot of fun. We got
was
to
fun
record
to
it
make.
in San Diego with one of our old producers, Dan Corniff. So that was a lot of fun. Just getting. I think for us, it was more of a like passion, have a good time with it project.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, well, I greatly appreciate it. It's been on my streaming for a minute now. So
Thank you.
All right, it's happening today. Lollapalooza, Pierce the Veil will be out there. You guys gonna tear it up like you did at the Cubby Bear?
Oh my God.
Maybe take it a little easier.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be a little bit more, hopefully a little bit more people than the Cubby Bear, but it's gonna be wild. I think.
Right
today.
on.
It's gonna be one of those ones we talk about for a long time.
Mhm.
Pierce the Veil, thank you for hanging out with Q101 at Lollapalooza 2024. Woo!